Episode 9. Hey everybody, welcome to Episode 9 of the Don't Quit Your Day Job podcast with Mike, Keith, and Adam. And today we're going to discuss the Gen X, which is our generation, versus Gen Z, which is, let's say, like my daughter's generation. So Adam, I'm going to hand it over to you.
Okay, well, basically, in comparison to our generation, it just seems like back when we were growing up, there were movies that inspired us. Movies, all types of genres of movies. You had fantasy, you had horror, you had drama, you had action or whatever, and it seems like they were better written. They had characters that were more inspirational. Like we were talking about the Karate Kid.
Right.
And we're right. Top Gun. Star Wars.
Breakfast Club.
Right, the John Hughes movies.
Right.
Yeah. And you also had Lord of the Rings, which was later on.
Lord of the Rings.
I guess the late.
Well, we had the cartoon,
right? The cartoon. I mean, I wouldn't say that was as inspirational as the series. I mean, yeah. I mean, but it started, I guess, post college. That's sort of our generation, I guess.
I guess you could say that. Maybe more. It's maybe more.
I'd say I would say late '80s.
Yeah.
Late '80s.
Could you guys think of anything else that kind of like had personally any other series of films, IPs? It means intellectual property. Same thing as a film, a television, whatever series.
Indiana Jones.
Well, I mentioned Indiana Jones or whatever that had inspiring characters, inspiring stories. That you'd rush out. That we used to go out.
The Rocky movies.
The Rocky movies.
Yeah, hands down, Rocky movies.
Exactly. Right. And like Mike said, the John Hughes movies. And I don't know. I just don't see. You know what I noticed? That most of the stuff from our generation, because it had these inspirational characters and it had these exciting concepts and memorable scenes, and you'd walk out of there feeling good.
Iconic movies, like Footloose,
iconic movies,
Flashdance.
Right. Like I said, multiple genres that are. I'm just not seeing that for this generation. You know, this generation seems to be. Of course, it's more concerned with social media. This is definitely the social media generation.
And YouTube. They're into YouTube.
YouTube, right.
They want the quick fix.
Right.
You know,
the
no
dopamine hit.
No more than 20, 30 minutes.
Right, the dopamine hit, the instant gratification.
Right.
Or whatever. And, you know, they don't really care about long form and narrative.
I wouldn't say they don't care, but it's easier for them to absorb the quick content. Because, like, a person like my daughter,
yeah,
you know, she's a young teenager, and she just, you know, she'll watch a movie, no problem. But, you know, kids of her generation, they like TikTok, they like that quick, you know, YouTube.
Right.
It's quick. I can watch like a ton of stuff at one point. I don't have to invest all my time because maybe I got too much other stuff going on. Or I'm trying to be on social media myself. Like, the kids want to go on social media. They want to do YouTube. They want to go on do these TikTok dances or whatever it is with their friends. Things like that. They don't always want to just sit still and watch a movie. Not all of them.
Yeah.
But it's a lot of them.
But it seems like as a father and with your wife or whatever, if you want to have like a movie night or whatever, it's probably, most of the time, it's probably like to get them away from the phone, to get them away from, you know, the pad or whatever, or it's like.
Yeah, no, if we're watching a movie night, if we have like a movie night, my daughter will put her phone down.
Okay.
She'll watch a movie. Like, you know, my wife.
She watch stuff from your generation, or does
Yes,
she prefer?
we've
to stay with
shown
them?
her a bunch of stuff from our generation.
Yeah.
You know, and like for example, my daughter likes the Marvel movies,
She
so
does.
we like to watch some of that stuff.
Well, that's more her generation than your generation.
Pretty much.
even
But
even more
we've
so
shown-
than Lord of the Rings.
We've shown her
the
like
Marvel and DC stuff.
we've shown her John Hughes movies.
Yeah.
We've shown her
Well, those are
Monty
great.
Python movies. She liked the Monty
You
Python
know what's so
movies,
funny? You know
which is
what's
more
so funny?
70s, 80s. But
My niece is 18 or whatever. When she was 15 years old, she got for Christmas a book about Eric Idle. And she loved it. And she said she was into Monty Python too, whatever. I don't know if she grew out of it or we haven't talked about that in a while or whatever. And I never really sat down recently and watched any Monty Python episodes with her or anything like that. It's just, you know,
Yeah, Mighty Python's an acquired taste.
yeah, and you also have to like that British humor too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know,
Well, she's kind of an old soul, whatever.
Right.
You know, she likes 70s music. We bought her a record player and a Croxley,
Yeah.
a Croxley record player. You know, the old-fashioned one, and a bunch of the classic albums. Yellow Brick Road, David Bowie, Ziggy Stardust, loves Queen.
Yeah,
she
so does
loved.
my daughter.
She loved going. Did you take her? Did you see?
She
you
liked
took Sophia
it,
to
yeah.
see Bohemian Rhapsody.
I don't think I took her to the theater, but we did watch it. I believe. at
Fleetwood
home.
Mac Rumors.
I gave her that. I gave it. It was in my. It was in my record.
Great album.
Actually, somebody took it and gave it to her for me. But it's my niece. It's my niece.
Right.
So it's to see the happiness she gets from listening to those older albums. It makes up for it.
I mean, my daughter too. She likes 80s music,
Right.
Because we play it all the time,
Right.
in the car and stuff. And she likes on her own. Like she'll start singing, like in one of her I think a cappella, or they were singing "I'm Still Standing" by Elton John. Like, whoa, hey, I didn't know you liked that.
It comes down to music of today sucks. Number one.
Music today is
Music of
It's
today is
very
hard.
repetitive
Oh.
today.
There's nothing.
Don't get me
there's
started
nothing
on it.
original. I mean,
It's a whole other
it's just,
episode.
This is stuff.
We'll cover that some other time.
That's
whatever.
always a topic of like, what's an artist or two of today that people are going to be listening to 30 years from now.
Because that's a topic in itself.
There's going to be much of a bill list.
Right. That's how this connects to what I'm going to talk about right now. Can you think of anything that is coming out that's new as compared to the stuff that's coming back now from our generation and is doing fairly successful? Top Gun, that was hugely successful. Top Gun,
Maverick,
like we said, Karate Kid turned to Cobra Kai.
They've been doing a couple of like the Ghostbusters.
Horror films,
And they're shooting another one that's coming out.
Horror
Right.
films, they say, especially
coming back.
in a bad economy, always do well.
People like to.
I guess because they really want that escapist.
Yeah, they want to. People
thing.
like to be scared.
Yeah,
Yeah.
right. It's the most.
Not everybody, but
it's the most easily accessible, fantastical genre, I guess, that you can just. What do you call it? Get into and just escape.
And all these horror films
an hour and a
have
half,
like
2 hours.
all these horror films have some sort of formula, like the girl falls, or
Yeah.
the lead character.
I mean, they're not as good as
usually,
they used to be. They're not as good as
because after so much time of creating iconic characters and then concepts. I mean, they've through our years and stuff, we've seen, growing up with, but it's gone through the years where, in the 30s and 40s and 50s, you had the monsters like a Frankenstein and a Dracula and a Wolfman and a mummy and stuff, and that led into then more of that in the 70s, continuing with Dracula films and stuff. It wasn't until you started the slasher movies in the late 70s with start of Halloween
yeah.
and Friday the 13th. Then you brought in a whole
I'll
other
tell you,
thing.
those are nothing.
Right, but then
compared to like the European shit.
right, but then you had a gap for a while,
From
and then you had
the
what's his name,
70s?
Wes Craven, creating Scream.
Yeah.
That brought in a whole nother generation
Right.
of a new of a take on that, but they keep
that unfortunately petered out when it was like basically like the television show Dawson's Creek with that slick writing that made, teenagers look so cool and all that,
Right.
like smarter than the adults, and everything was stylized. Stuff like I Know What You Did Last Summer.
More millennial stuff.
Right.
Really.
Right. What was the other one? The one that took place in college. I can't remember. God, it had a cast of like.
Felicity?
No. Well, it was basically Felicity with, a butcher knife in college. It was.
I Know What You Did
I
Last
forget,
Summer.
Jared Leto was in it when he first started. Tara Reid, the one who plays Lex Luthor on TV. Michael Rosenbaum. It was a cast of like almost totally on TV, off TV, or whatever. I remember liking it, but but it was basically after a while it got stale.
Yeah,
Right,
and it seems like everything is getting stale. And so what Hollywood does is they go back and
they recycle.
They recycle. Like I
Right.
just saw a thing of a poster for Crystal Lake of a series based, and it's a prequel to Friday the 13th.
I would wanna see series either.
So why would you need these? Why do you need these prequels? Right? They can't think of anything. They can't just
It's not original.
It's not original. Look at the summer lineup of films.
They don't want
What?
to invest time in it, however. And
They use the same formula
okay.
over and over again
Okay,
because
okay.
it works.
let's face it. There's also there's the woke aspect too. And there's the whole politically correct climate right now.
Right.
They're afraid to offend people, whatever.
And
But even before that,
Right.
But even before that, they were afraid to try new ideas.
Because it's a business,
Right.
and they want to make money, so they want the guaranteed money. So
Yeah.
let's do the stuff that works,
Yeah.
right? But
the only
plots that work,
Right.
the
Why
stories
everything's being
that
brought
work.
back from our generation.
Let's get another.
But then there's
sequel.
Then there's feedback. Right. Great example. We got the Indiana Jones, the 5th movie coming out, and the early buzz on it is that it's not good.
Yeah.
And,
Yeah.
and that
Yeah,
and it's
yeah.
like you need.
It's not going to create that
No,
magic
it's not
like
going
the
to create
first
that
one.
magic of the first three.
And why is it not good? Because Indy is introduced to a female character who basically monopolizes the whole story.
Right, because
whatever.
they probably want to do is turn it over to a new audience, a younger audience, to continue that cash cow. That's what they'll do. And they'll spin it off.
Which is what they did. Which is
that's what they do.
Which is
They did it with Creed.
I was just about to say that they did it with Creed. They're like, let's get one of the most iconic characters on film in film history of Rocky, and then spawn a sequel of, a series, which they saw how the first Creed did, and it did well. So let's continue it, and the second one did well, and now the third one did really well. So, they know, okay, we got something now into that universe.
It's the Rocky universe. It is. Those
Yeah.
stories do stand on their own,
Yeah.
but it was molded from the Rocky series.
Well, it's like I
it was
said.
influenced.
It's like I said in regards to Rocky and the new Creed series, that if it wasn't for Creed, we wouldn't have gotten, the return of Drago. We wouldn't have gotten.
True.
Right.
And sometimes you want to know where these characters have
And
gone.
not only that, they took basically what the joke is about Rocky. What's the joke about Rocky 4? That it's
an hour and a half long music video.
Right, an
At
hour
the
and a half
MTV
long
Rocky.
music. Right. What
Yes,
did they
it's
do?
MTV when it actually played music and videos.
But Creed 2, yeah, that was it's a long time ago, it seems like. Anyway, maybe they play 15 minutes, like 5:45 in the morning or something.
Oh, let's just play 24 hours of Ridiculous or whatever that show that they play.
Oh God.
How do you survive on one show?
Don't get me. They have no money. They never had any money. It's the truth. And people told me who work for MTV. They don't even pay people. They take like years. They're in court all the time over people. They owe so many people money over the years.
Let's throw those video music award shows.
I will say something though.
Yeah.
I think they're trying, and I say this very loosely, the movie industry is trying to come up with some original stuff. I mean, some of the stuff is kind of crazy, and there's this one particular movie that
Cocaine Bear.
No, but no, I was going to mention that later, but that movie with Jennifer
We talked about
Lawrence,
that already.
the Jennifer Lawrence movie that's coming up.
Yeah.
That reminds me of an 80s
It's
wild comedy,
or
crazy
90s.
movie.
Yeah.
You know, and you know, in the 80s we had all these crazy movies, you know, Summer Camp or the school, about something with the school, Revenge of the Nerds. We had all the Class Act or whatever it was, Meatballs. We had all these wild, crazy movies. Ski Patrol, Ski School.
Raunchy, edgy comedies.
Right, but you can't do that now.
Sex
What was
comedies.
that one that was a take on Fast Times?
Fast Times on
no,
Ridgemont High.
no. That was with Sean Penn's brother, Chris Penn. The Wildlife.
The Wildlife.
Yeah, another one. That was
No, that's an unofficial sequel to Fast Times.
Fast Times, right?
Right.
Yeah,
Right.
But yeah, this
yeah.
new movie has a
You know
lot of
what?
the
I think
characteristics.
the needle is slowly going
It's
back.
starting to go back,
because
yeah.
they're losing too much money.
Right, people are losing interest.
And yeah, and you want to talk about equity and all that stuff. Okay, yeah, whatever like cause you want to, what's hold a candle to, whatever the expression is. You know, or whatever you believe in, stuff like that. You're going to lose when the stockholders are going to be like, wait a minute. Equity, inclusion, or whatever. How much are we losing? How much are we losing here?
It all
$1
comes
billion?
down to money.
Okay.
The pendulum always swings back the other way.
We're going to go back a few years. We're going to go back a few years, and we're going to, get something that's a little more audience friendly. You know, we want them to come back. We want somebody to see something decent on streaming again that they'll love.
Well, let's just put a great, iconic toy that girls adored for years, and let's make it into a live-action movie.
You know what, though? I saw that trailer.
I just don't know.
I saw that trailer. That trailer looks like it has a little something extra, though. It doesn't look like
It looks like it could be a fun movie.
Yeah, it looks
It's
like
not an intelligent movie.
It looks like they're making fun of certain
Of the whole
things
thing,
regarding
yeah.
feminism and all
So,
that.
I mean, you think Margot Robbie would just
That
sign up
movie, let me
for
tell you,
it
you know who's
for
gonna
no
go see that
reason?
movie?
Or
You know who's going to see that
No,
movie?
she picks pretty good roles.
That movie is going to be a combination of wine moms out with their friends on a night, let's go to dinner, let's go see Barbie. We all had Barbies, we all play with Barbies. This might be fun. It's written by a dude named, what's his name? Oh God, his girlfriend is Greta Gerwig, or his wife is Greta Gerwig.
We could always put the name up on the screen later on.
Oh, I know his name. He just did the White Noise movie that was on Netflix about the train wreck. And they said it scarily mirrored everything that happened in Ohio, Palestine, or whatever, that White Noise movie. And this guy does like hipster movies and stuff like that, where he sort of makes fun of hipster culture.
Got it.
And stuff like that. So and Greta Gerwig is she doesn't seem like it. She's not like. I'm not gonna mention any names. I don't want to, but she seemed like kind of a little bit feminist, but she's kind of. But still, she doesn't seem like knock you over the head, preachy or whatever. She's not. So it's gonna. And she's the writer, so this might be a fun movie.
So I was gonna say this film's not gonna take itself serious. It's gonna.
It's not right.
Okay.
It's like tongue in cheek.
Right. It might be tongue in cheek.
Yeah.
Right. It might be tongue in cheek. It kind of has a Tim Burton-esque kind of, if Tim Burton-esque did Barbie. Tim Burton did Barbie. You know. But let's just, since we're going to move it along here, I'll just ask one question. Is there anything in this generation that stands out? As far as movies, TV...
Cocaine Bear. I'm going to always come back to Cocaine Bear.
No. Not just stands out. Movies, TV, streaming, they say, just like the movies that were inspirational to us...
I'm going to tell you.
That may be remade or rebooted or whatever, or they make it a sequel years down the road.
I'm going to say this right now.
Something that inspirational.
I'm going to say this right now. I think streaming and movies on streaming and series on streaming is better than the movies now. That's a bold statement for me to make. But I think the quality of the television streaming is better. You got a show like Mrs. Maisel, which is in its final season.
So you think that's going to be remade?
No, Miss Maisel was an amazing series. The writing, the producing, the acting, amazing. It was a great thing. And you have other shows like Succession, fantastic show. Barry, well acted, good writing. You get all those comedy, and they're original. You follow what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So the originality is coming more from streaming and television than from the actual movies.
And if you think about it, a lot of actors years ago, if they did television work,
But there are movies on TV and streaming
but it was
now,
like but it was like a
Apple
downgrade.
was coming up with something new every day.
Right, but remember years ago
Ted Lasso.
Remember years ago when an actor did a movie for like anything television related?
I'm sorry.
They,
Right.
they felt like it was a step down. Now
They were looked down upon.
They were
Now
looked
it's
down
the other
upon.
way,
The
yeah.
roles are reversed. You do television work, it's garnered that audience where you're getting the viewership, you're getting people tuning in.
TV is better now than the movies.
Than
I'm
the movies.
saying that.
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah, some TV.
I'd rather sit
It's not
at
like,
home.
but to me, it's not like the golden age a few years back.
It's not.
Remember they called it the new golden age a few years back.
I mean, I'm saying TV
The
is
Wire.
better now than the movies.
Sopranos,
Those were
Game of
great,
Thrones.
Iconic television shows.
You had okay.
Yeah, right. Those
But there
were,
wasn't as many. There were few and far
Yeah.
between. You had a Sopranos, The Wire, and all that stuff. Game of Thrones and all that stuff. Those were few and far between. But the gap has been closing.
But you can't even make those anymore.
There's many more great TV streaming series on than there's many great movies coming
Yes,
out.
I agree with Mike on that.
That's
Well,
just
yeah,
my
well,
opinion.
well,
I could be wrong.
Look up a movie. Look up a movie listing of movies out in theaters now. There's not even a lot of movies in theaters anymore.
No, they still can't get the asses in the seats.
No.
Well, that's because Disney is like dominated the market. Monopolized the market.
No. I'm just talking in general. There's not a ton. You pre-pandemic, you used to go to a theater. There was like how many movies playing? Now you go to a theater. There's what, 6 movies playing?
You know what's crazy? Isn't it crazy?
Supply and demand, right?
Isn't it crazy? We're living in a time now. Remember, like even in college, even as college kids, we were excited what was coming out.
Like when
in
the Doors
summer.
came out, I
In the
was like,
summer.
"Well, the Doors is coming out.
Well,
I gotta
no,
go
that's
see that."
I'm talking about when we later
because I'll
on.
tell you why.
When we met,
Right? Because you
and all
didn't,
that,
yeah,
and
because
post college.
because you didn't.
We were excited
because you didn't have your media on you. You didn't have social media. You didn't have devices on you. You had the television. You had a radio, and you had the movies. You didn't have
We
accessibility.
didn't have all
Well,
the.
internet was coming in.
We had
Internet
network
was-
television,
Right,
and
right,
cable.
But 94, 95,
Right,
96.
but even
So-
then, the
right.
movies was an
When
experience.
we were in school.
It was-
Everything's
But
instant now.
still, yeah,
Yeah.
the instant thing.
But that's why I'm saying when you see
I hate
trailers,
to
when we
say it.
saw trailers,
The technology
when
is
we were
great. The access
younger,
is great. But
trailers got you so psyched up. That was the best part of the movies because you're like, oh shoot, that's
Super Bowl,
awesome.
Super Bowl. Tell me you're not less excited about Super Bowl movie trailers now than you were than we all were.
No,
10,
because I can
15
watch
years ago.
YouTube and
10,
watch
15
them.
You can
years
watch
ago.
because you can go right online and stream it. If you Super Bowl, you had to tune in because you knew that was the one time it was going to
It was the only place you were
Yeah.
going to see it. Right? Even the commercials on Super
But you
Bowl
never really,
aren't the same.
you never really like answer. You say there's something. We'll end this topic in a second. You never really answered the question: is there a particular property now? Is there a new concept now? Is there something that stands out now that you could see being remade? It's good enough to remake in like 10, 15 years. Anything?
It's hard to determine.
It's hard to determine because I
Because
think
they're TV shows.
because I think a majority of the stuff that's out there now are remakes.
Well,
And
a
how many-
lot of the
and how-
TV
and how
is
many,
not.
like,
The
as far
TV
as-
is original. It's the movies that are being remade.
not really. I mean, not because Adam is channeling Tom Selleck, but there was a remake of Magnum. And did it do as well? I'm sorry.
I'm growing
but-
in the
You forgot your mustache.
But I'm just saying.
I'm growing in that mustache, baby.
There is a remake of Magnum out. Like, what was there a need to do it? Was there a need to do it?
Hawaii Five-0, they redid it.
But that ran for many seasons, and that did really well. But when you think of Hawaii Five-0, you're going to remember that one, or you're going to remember the Jack Lord one. You're going to remember the Jack Lord one. It's always going to be the first is always the best.
But they
Usually.
made it for a new generation, and that's why they did that. They brought the concept back because they didn't have an original idea, so they brought it back, but for a new generation. Same like Star Wars, the newest
And they didn't do it.
versions.
They weren't good.
Were for the new generation, out with the old, in with the new. You know that saying. That's how the world works. Unfortunately.
Now we would talk prior to this episode. We would get into the conversation of how this led to this. It was like how many remakes of the past have there been remade that we thought were better than the original? That
Star
were-
is Born, perfect example.
Well, you had
Right.
Yeah,
Star is
four
Born was
versions of it.
exception
of that.
I watched the '70s one and I liked it,
The Barbara Streisand.
but it was
Chris
dated.
Chris Christopherson.
It was dated, and
then you had the '50s version with Judy
and it
Garland
just
and
was
James
not
Mason.
as good as Bradley Cooper's like
Yeah.
It was
Star is
different.
Born.
And now I'll
right,
gi-
and
I'll
Lady
give-
Gaga.
right.
It just wasn't as good.
I'll give you two versions, even though they're not even recent. Was one I'm the biggest Sinatra fan, but Clooney and Brad Pitt's and Matt Damon's Ocean's 11 series and spawned the two sequels was way better than Frank.
agree with you.
Was way better than Frank
agree with
Sinatra's
you on
Ocean's
that
11. And Frank Sinatra's Ocean's
Maybe not
11
all
is
the
great.
movies. Maybe the
Oh,
first. I mean,
Well, no, it's a good trilogy.
I mean, yeah.
And
yeah.
they even spawned the Ocean's 8 with Sandra Bullock and her crew, and that was a good, fun
I didn't
remake.
hate that movie. So many people hated that
What,
movie.
Ocean's 8?
Oh,
Oh, no, I
well,
thought
why
it
have to
was-
place?
No.
Well, this goes to our next topic
Right.
really quickly.
And then the other example of another iconic film was the Thomas Crown Affair with Steve McQueen and Faye Dunaway. They redid it with Pierce Brosnan and Rene Russo, and it's way better of a remake than the original.
That's
and
a
I
great
love
movie.
McQueen, but
There's also John McTiernan.
John McTiernan directed it.
who
Who
was,
directed Die Hard.
I don't know who I forgot who wrote it, but
But it was done so well, and a new fresh take on the movie. Now I'm hearing there might even be another version of Ocean's 11 coming out.
Oh, wow.
It's like
When is it gonna
That's what I'm
stop?
trying to say. When's it going to stop? You don't.
It's-
It
So
does.
Adam has
it's
a new
safe.
topic.
It's all about being safe. It's all about being safe. This kind of goes into what I was talking about, as far as like Ocean's 8 or whatever, what they did to the Ocean's cast or whatever, that they made it from men to women. Now we see lately that a lot of programs they've been kind of doing with TV and movies, you know, things maybe that we didn't grow up with. Maybe there were kind of IPs that were more recent, or just concepts or whatever you say. I don't know if this is going to work. They've been swapping. There's been kind of a race and gender swap when it comes with actors. With everything from. Well, what concerns me the most about this is that this relates not just to scripted things, but history, historical accuracy. And as of late, I know you guys heard about this whole thing with Cleopatra, and they're defending. I can't believe how they're defending this thing. You know, basically, they're trying to say that Hollywood is trying to say anyway. Jada Pinkett Smith, who's the producer of this show, this Netflix documentary, she's trying to say that Cleopatra was black.
documentary?
It's a documentary. Yes.
Okay.
By the way, there is going to be, and you can, take this however you want to take it, there is actually going to be a big theatrical version of Cleopatra made with Gal Gadot. I'm pretty sure that that's still going on. It was supposed to be directed by Patty Jenkins, who did Wonder Woman, but it's being directed by somebody else.
Well, after Wonder Woman 2, I understand why.
Well, yeah, but that's one of the reasons she was the Star Wars film for that reason too.
Because of Wonder Woman 2.
Right, exactly. But you got TV shows like Bridgerton, other shows.
Which a lot of people I know love that show.
Yeah,
Yeah, my wife and daughter like that show.
yeah. There was a BBC series where they showed the character of Anne Boleyn. I don't know if you guys ever heard the TV show The Tudors. That was
Yeah,
on
heard of
music.
it.
Okay,
I've never
okay.
watched
Wasn't that with
Anne Boleyn was
Henry Cavill was in that?
Yes, no, Henry Cavill wasn't. Henry Cavill starred. He was the best friend of King Henry
the
VIII,
former Superman.
aka the last Superman. The thing, it doesn't really bother me. I mean, it kind of bothers me a little bit that if it's just according to history, it just doesn't. Especially if you use more so when you're using. I understand this stuff like Hamilton, okay, but when you're using stuff like when you're doing and Bridgerton, I guess they're playing things a little fast and loose or whatever as far as the casting goes, and I guess because that's more fantasy, it may be related to the characters, may be related to I don't know that much about the show. It may be related to actual historical characters. I've never seen Bridgerton. Do you know that much about it?
I don't know much about it, but I know my wife and daughter watch it.
Okay, all right.
And that's
Anyway.
and that's important.
All right, but when
And they like it.
But when the Greek government is fighting this documentary, and not fighting this documentary, protesting this documentary, and I think it's turned into a legal thing too.
Can you explain why they're protesting the documentary? Is it because
this is one of the most, I guess, not sacred, but one of the most beloved. I don't know if beloved either, right? Well, maybe beloved. Historical figures.
she was Greek Cleopatra?
Right.
She has Greek origin.
And she was Greek, right?
Not to say that you can't have a person that lives in Greece that is black, because there's like a famous basketball player that's Greek and he's black.
That's interesting.
So that
I didn't know that.
could happen,
Yeah,
right?
he plays for the Bucks.
You know what I'm
I know what you're
talking
talking about. Yeah.
We can run that on the screen.
Well, at any rate, the Greek government is saying basically that Cleopatra does not have any black roots or anything. That she's strictly Greek, or I don't know. Is that related to Macedonian or whatever, something like that?
She could be dark. She could have been dark-skinned, but does that necessarily mean she was black?
But they're saying that
We don't
she
know.
Right. They're saying she's definitely black. She's definitely black. You know, and then
Well, because
the producers, Jada Pinkett Smith, and the producers.
sometimes people want to create their own narrative.
Okay.
Instead of trying to seek. Now we don't know what kind of research her and her team did.
Yeah.
To find out. Are you just saying that this person is black, or do you have scientific historical research that says that she comes from a black family?
All right.
You know what I mean? I mean, that's the difference.
Yeah.
Are you just changing the narrative, or are you showing us fact?
Okay.
Because, you know, if the fact says she was truly black from Greece, I'm okay with that. But if you're just trying to control the narrative
Right.
and say, no, she was black, without any, you know, any kind of proof, then you're just trying to control the narrative. Now, I can accept if she was black and she comes from Greece. I can accept that. Even if she didn't come from Greece and her heritage was from Greece, we don't even know if that's true, if Cleopatra was really from Greece. Do we really know? Is there anything written solid in history? What are the facts? So I like to go by facts instead of go by.
I haven't done any heavy research about this. I'm just saying what
and I'm wondering
the Greek government is claiming.
I'm wondering if Jada Smith and her, you know, producing team or whatever have done the research. That's all I'm saying. I'm not saying she is or she isn't black. It could be, but we don't know.
And to be fair, Gal Gadot is Israeli.
Right.
So when we say, I mean, she might, who knows, maybe she might be closer, she might be closer to being able to portray that character where it looks a little more realistic. But like you said,
We don't know.
without the research, we don't know. But
Okay.
I'm actually more interested in the movie because we haven't had anybody since Elizabeth Taylor. Now
Right.
Elizabeth Taylor was ridiculous. I don't know. Do you think Elizabeth Taylor was ridiculous in her being in that movie?
Well, the times were different
The times
back
were
then.
different,
Yeah.
and she was a big name, but that film basically almost destroyed 20th Century Fox.
Oh yeah.
Big time. Look that up, folks. It's okay. It was one of the most expensive films ever made, but it nearly put 20th Century Fox out of business.
But I guess maybe there are going to be some exceptions, or there's starting to be some exceptions. Maybe, like I said, the Needles moving back for this too, because Red Sonja originally was casted with a black actress. I mean, you got this whole thing with the Little Mermaid right now. Okay.
I don't have a problem with the Little Mermaid.
Okay, well,
I'll tell you why.
well-
Because mermaids are not real.
Right.
So who gives a shit if it's black, if the mermaid is black or Asian
Well,
or
I mean,
you know,
some people
white
would say.
or
Some
what?
people
You
would
know,
say.
I don't care.
Some people would say
It's not real.
Some women who grew up watching the Little Mermaid might say that, okay, the first time I see a theatrical presentation come to life, I want to see a white actress. I want to see a ginger.
People want to
I want to
see-
see with red hair. Some people would say
yeah,
that.
but some people want to see
But it is a mythological character.
They
so
want to be
it's not like it's
represented.
history.
You know what I mean?
It's not history.
Some people want to be represented on film and television.
Right.
I get that. Now, again, like I said, I have no problem with the Little Mermaid because mermaids aren't real. So who cares? But a historical figure, like, I mean, if I mean, all right, this is going to be a little bit controversial.
Yeah,
but
that's
I'm going to
a-
just say it. Can you just imagine if a white person played Rosa Parks? It's not going to happen.
This is what everybody's saying now. This is what people are
not
saying now.
So
The whole thing
you
about
know,
like,
come
wait,
on.
you see the jokes that people say, the
Nobody
memes?
is going to make
You ever see the memes?
a
like,
white person Rosa
you ever
Parks.
see the
I'm
memes
just
like
sorry,
Robert
it's
Downey
not gonna
Jr. as
happen.
Martin Luther King? Rosa Parks being played by...
You know,
by,
it's ridiculous. You can't have anyone but somebody who is black playing Rosa Parks.
that's
I'm sorry.
ridiculous. That's ridiculous.
Oh, let's have an
That's-
Asian actress play.
yeah.
No, Rosa Parks is a historical figure, so you have to play it accurate
Exactly.
to that historical figure. That's just my thing.
No, you're right.
You know, I could see. Oh, an Asian person wants to be represented. Let's have an Asian actress play Rosa Parks. Do you think the black community is going to go for that? It ain't going to happen.
Nope.
Even the Asian community is like, no, that's not going to happen either. You know, I mean, it's just,
Everybody would be protesting that.
yeah.
Everybody with a brain. Everybody
Leave
with a-
historical figures the way they were in history.
Yeah, that includes
Now,
Yeah.
includes Ralph Cramden in The Honeymooners.
I say, do you research
when
Now,
they did that
honor-
version, that was hard.
I would-
horrible.
the...
go ahead, Adam.
No,
I'm
no, I was
sorry.
gonna say, do your research, honor, like, the next generation. This is the big thing. The next generation has to know. I want the next generation to know true history. It's important. Those who forget history are doomed to repeat it. Right? You know, we're hearing all this shit now more than ever. That, you know, that old adage. We're hearing history doesn't repeat, but it rhymes. So, history is very important, and may not seem like it's as important, but kids should know the real deal. That's
now,
all
I
I'm
will
saying.
say this.
But what was I saying about this Red Sonja actress?
Red Sonja, yeah.
Right. Okay. It was originally casted with a black actress or whatever. I thought this was going to happen.
Wait, so this is like Red Sonja, like the one where
They're
they were
remaking Red Sonja.
Like Bridget
yeah.
Nielsen.
Brigitte Nielsen?
Yeah, yeah, but this is a remake I wanted because I thought that was a very watered down version of Red Sonja. If you know, like, in the comic book and all.
Right.
If you read about the comic. Okay. Yeah, the one with Bridget Nielsen.
Right, and it was supposed to be, and then
She was stunning.
And if you know a little history
But-
with that one, remember the rights with Conan? That's why they had to put Schwarzenegger couldn't be called Conan
Right.
because it was the right thing, so they had to give him a different name. But he was
Conan
basically
the Barbarian.
yeah, because it was because that was also a comic.
Yeah,
too.
I know,
Red
I have
Sonja-
one of those
Red
comics.
Sonja was a Marvel comic.
Well, so anyway, she's going to be played by an actress who I just saw in a great movie called Revenge. It's a throwback to like
Kevin Costner one and Anthony Quinn.
No, 70s B movies, whatever. About it's a great revenge tale about this chick who gets revenge with these guys who nearly kill her. It's a little bit of a spoiler, but check it out. It's still really cool movie or whatever. But she's going to be playing the new Red Sonja, this former model, Italian model, whatever. But she's a good actress too. So that's
Yeah, but it's a fictional character, so
Right,
you can do that.
it's not real. Now, I will say this. I was going to say this earlier. I loved the show Hamilton. Now, but that was a concept, okay? Because what they wanted to do, and I could be wrong, but from what I understand, in the show Hamilton, they wanted to, change it a little bit, right? So we didn't have a white person as Hamilton. We didn't have George Washington as a white person and all this and that. Because guess what? A lot of these people owned slaves. So what they wanted to do is kind of take it back. That's in my opinion. I could be wrong about this, but I did enjoy that show. Is it historically correct? No. But everybody that's ever heard of that show knows that it's not. And it was never meant to be. It was telling a story.
It's a reimagination.
A reimagination. So
all right.
basically,
I accept that in fantasy.
and it was done well.
I do.
It was done very well.
It's not fantasy, but
You know what I mean? I mean, they
accept that.
have like a hip hop kind of music to it, So they just changed things up.
by the way,
It was groundbreaking.
Lin-Manuel
Miranda.
Miranda. He's actually had some contributions to the new Little Mermaid movie.
Yeah, he
Some of
wrote.
the music.
He wrote music with Alan Menken.
Yeah, from what I've heard.
So, like, as far as historically accurate, I will, sometimes, it's okay to do that. Like, on a Broadway show, I think that's okay. But for a documentary, that's where I end up having a problem. Because a documentary is like a real thing. If you're making like a scripted movie and you want to switch things up a little bit, not so much. I don't have a problem. But a documentary, which is supposed to be factual, that's when I run into an issue.
Race, gender, all that should be on par.
Accurate.
Should be on par.
Yeah.
I mean, like every week you're reading about something or a remake and this and that, like, or something coming out. Like, there's a new version of Matlock now with Kathy Bates.
Oh yeah.
I mean, that's fine.
I just read that they're going to do, which I don't know why, a third incarnation of Inspector Clouseau with Eddie Murphy playing the character now. I mean, do I see Eddie Murphy in that role? Not really. Not really.
But I can accept that.
But I can accept it
because it's not a real person.
I'm sorry,
but it's not a real person.
I love Eddie Murphy. I love Eddie Murphy, but Steve Martin was bad enough.
Yeah, I mean,
Steve Martin was not Peter Sellers.
And like I said, when the Steve Martin version came out, I didn't watch it because I was like, to me, there's only going to be one true Inspector Clouseau, and that's
But
Peter
you
Sellers.
have that option. You don't have to watch the Steve Martin. You don't have to watch the Eddie Murphy. You can watch the one that you love, that you used to. We have a choice. Right?
Yeah.
We all have choices, ladies and gentlemen.
Listen, I know it's tough too in these times or whatever, but if you want to discuss this subject,
leave a
like,
comment,
subscribe, leave a comment. We'll answer you back.
Let us know.
And,
Maybe we didn't mention a series
in
or
these days,
right? Like you were saying about a series or a film or something
really,
that's out now that is going to be remembered 30 years from now. Or 20 years from now, that is going to be iconic. Is there something out there that really is going to make a statement now that we're going to watch 20 years from now and say, wow, that show was the shit. Or that show really made an impact. The way things are out there now, there's no, I don't know, to me, there's no wow. There's no like, oh, I got to watch that.
There's nothing inspiring.
No.
Inspiration.
No.
Good stories of like that just make you want to go out and take on the world.
I mean,
we need that more than ever now.
We have all these Fast and Furious movies, but they keep going up. They keep getting more ridiculous. Like
CGI
there's
is
no
getting
way
worse.
in physics that a car can do that. You know what I'm saying?
Which I've said many times.
It's just
but for every series like a Fast and Furious, you have, but it depends on who's behind it also, you have the Mission Impossible movies with Tom Cruise that keep getting better. That's one, I think, and I'm a Bond fan, but I will say the Mission Impossible movies are one of the best examples of a series that keeps getting better.
And Tom Cruise,
and he's phenomenal in them, and the stories are good. And to do this, I don't even know if this will be the last one, but it's going to be in 2 parts anyway. But he just knows what an audience wants, what they're looking for, and it just continues. And it's good writing. There is, I don't know, maybe by the time this airs, if it's still going on, there is a writer's strike. You wonder why there's a writer's strike? Because obviously it's always money, but maybe originality, maybe ideas out there. There's something's not right. And it's being noticed.
Well, there's a lot of factors. There's a lot of variables that are causing this writer's strike. Some say it's from the last writer's strike.
Well, I know.
I'm
sorry. I know part of the reason. Some of the reason is because with all the streaming and stuff, I don't think writers are getting paid. It's almost like the musicians. They don't get paid a lot for streaming. That's why you see all these musicians on these big tours like Taylor Swift. She needs to make her money. She's not making it over streaming. And people aren't buying physical product. And if they are, it's very little.
Someone just told me that.
Let me just explain something to you here.
Yeah.
That, the writers, if they're not getting residuals for subscription-based series, like from Netflix, Hulu, or what have you, Amazon and all that stuff, then why would they want to write if they're not getting paid?
No.
You know, on network television, they'll probably get paid more
Right.
because the ads and stuff. But I mean, if you're paying like $15 a month for a subscription and there's like, you know, 30 million people subscribing, come on, you're making a lot of money there. So some of that money, I think the writers want a piece of the pie. They want a piece of the action. And you know what happens though? What'll happen is the streaming prices will go up again.
In order to cover their expenses. All right. So
it affects the consumer.
and I guess,
Of course.
and I guess our writers.
But I do agree with the writers. Right?
They say this is going to be a long haul, man. This is going to be a long strike.
And speaking of, our writers are on strike for this podcast, so that's why we got to cut this thing short now, right?
Yeah, it is about that time.
Yeah.
So, with that being said, let me close it out. Just remember, everybody, remember to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell. And thank you for joining us once again. Remember, if you haven't seen all our podcasts, we have a bunch to choose from. Go back from the beginning. Start on episode 1 and work your way up to this episode. And, you know, in the future, you might want to go back to certain episodes because they might be even more relevant at certain times. Also, just keep in mind we do these in advance. So if some stuff feels a little dated, it's because we film these things in advance. So I just want to say goodbye. Adam and Keith, thank you very much as always. And
Thank you, Mike.
Thank you.
we'll see you guys on the next episode. Take care now.
Peace, guys.